Hey guys, so I've been in pursuit of making a better video lately, and when I was editing this video I really hated it and I was going to throw it out. And then I started remembering this video I saw the other day of like an AI Optimus Prime Zeta Gundam build. Like everything was AI, the model, the hands, the airbrush, the paint, and it just kind of sickened me. So I think, the worst thing I can do against this AI stuff is throw out a good half hour of work that I did. So I'm going to put up the video and hope you all enjoy it. I was a little tired and, couldn't get the lighting right on shooting a whole army, but hope you guys enjoy. And if you see a video like this on your feed, just ignore it. It's bullshit. I hate how they're coming for our hobby, but yeah, we got to fight back. So putting out this video, and hope you all had a good holidays and enjoy. So I said I was tired of putting out a video every 3 days because I wanted more to show for it, and this is what happens when you give me a little bit of time. So let's get into it. So last time we talked, I had some of these things primed, and I had a squad of Catachan command squad that I had made out of bolt action guys and some various extra Cadians that I had laying around from these batteries here. Now I have a Cadian command squad, a Catachan command squad, Catachan jungle fighters, Cadian shock troopers, Kasrkin. I guess they used to be called stormtroopers, but they're Kasrkin special ops or whatever. They're basically special Cadians that go do the special stuff. For Christmas, my friend got me a Cotaez, Inquisitor Cotaez. That's an interesting case. We'll look at that on its own. So let's catch up on what we've already worked on before. And here we have the Sentinel. The Sentinel, I was going to paint like a Gundam, base coat, panel line, dirty wash, chip. But essentially here, I used the primer that I already had, this rust oxide primer that's on the Chimera there. And I had a rough iron from Army Painter, and that iron color, when I chipped it over, just stippling it over my base green, really looked like this base color, at least to the naked eye, so it really, I didn't actually need to do much painting here. I just put the green where I wanted it. It looked awful, and then I started stippling some iron on it, painted some details, and now it looks really, really nice. I did black wash a few parts like vents and back here and stuff, but overall a lot of this is just straight painted. I wanted to go for a jungle base since Catachans are kind of my favorite. And the Goblin Green base, I chipped it right here, but the Goblin Green base that my whole army has is kind of inspired by Miniscape and a lot of these old Hammer people. I do like the older style of Warhammer flavor, I guess. The more I get into Warhammer, the less I like current Warhammer. I do like the old, goofy Warhammer. So I got my guy in here. I must have done this in a fugue stakes. I don't remember painting this computer, but I did paint the computer here. Buttons and green, all that. So I didn't end up painting over the super glue when I actually attached this guy right here, because you never see that when this is in there properly. But yeah, most of this base here is from Army Painter Basin Kit. These big leaves that you'll see that I used on a few of the Catachan parts units, they are from a dinosaur toy that my kid got for Christmas, and I yanked a tree out of it because they were just chewing on it anyways. The rocks I used were pieces of pink foam, painted them dark gray, and then just dry brush over them. I'm very proud of this crushed plant I did here because I took one of these leaves and then cut it into 3 and put it, underneath. So it looked like it was really getting crushed by the plant. My typical thing here for the forest was basing with an army painter texture paint, or sorry, a Citadel texture paint. Adding some rocks, some grass, dry brushing the texture, and yeah, just putting a little bit of glue over to seal everything in, making sure these plants don't fall off. The guy's arm is sticking out. Now, this door has inner detail, and maybe if I sawed this or went in really nice with a hobby knife, I could saw this door off and have it open, like I talked about in the previous video. But right now, Armored Sentinel isn't very good, it seems, in the meta. Not like I really care about that too much, but Scout Sentinel's just cooler anyways. So I do know Catachans have a, what do you call that, a camouflage netting over their Scout Sentinels, so I might have to build one up. Yeah, so this is just the normal artillery cannon. I tried to make it very foresty, build out as much as I could. And I made sure not to put the texture where the tires would have gone, and I blackwashed that over everything. It's not so convincing, but, it's good enough for me. I do like the casing here. The casing's in here. That's all very cool. The guy's butt is still intact, This is a big booty battery squad. So, the butt I sculpted there is very nice. Check that out in a previous video. But yeah, that's looking very good. And this is basically just, my typical Gundam style of just painting everything a base coat and then washing it and then going in and adding some chipping at the edges. I don't really like the box art Warhammer style of highlighting absolutely every edge. So for something this big, it's fine. You can see the details. I tried to paint, so this was a Japanese bolt action guy head. And I saw for painting yellow skin, for painting Asian skin, you start with the yellow and then build up a flesh tone. But the yellow that I used was so abrasive that it kind of bled through everything, and most of my Asians came out looking pretty suspect, but they definitely do look different than the white people, so there's that. But if I ever actually get into bolt action, I gotta learn how to paint some Asian skin tones, or everyone's gonna call me a huge racist, which I'm not. I just tried to paint their skin tones a little bit more yellow, but maybe going for more of an olive complexion is what you want. Oh, that guy looks pretty gruff. The sculpts on the resin bolt action faces are really rough compared to like some resin printing that I got that you'll see. So this is a las gun, and I wanted it more like a matte gray, like a futuristic gun. In sci-fi, and especially like retro sci-fi, it's always, like very matte gray guns. So I used like a US F-15 gray or something like that. Chipped it with the previous color, black washed over it. And it kind of doesn't look great, but honestly, it looks a lot better after the black wash. Much happier with the laser gun after the black wash. But I wanted it to look more like futuristic. Now, this here, I can't remember where this was supposed to go in the instruction manual, but I found this part the other day, And I was like, oh yeah, that's actually like the power for the las gun. So I actually have a cord that broke recently. I need to cut up that cord, and I'll probably end up using like the wiring from the inside of that cord to wire into these 3 holes here. And another case of a rough Asian face. But I really do like this guy resting here on the TV. He's not really caring about his ammo box here. And this sniper hidden over here, almost like a little Easter egg. You barely see him from above, which is actually very cool. Kind of goes to show how honestly effective camouflage properly is in real life, because like, yeah, I wouldn't really know that guy was there unless he shot me in the face. These were some extra bits I just added on. I don't know what this is supposed to be. Maybe like some extra power. This I like to think is like a big lead plate that they put there so that the radiation from the laser doesn't just like burn this guy's face off. It kind of like absorbs some of the extra radiation. And I just like thinking of these storytelling ideas when I'm painting, you know. I did the same thing with the tracks on the wheels here. If I was really smart, I would have built up texture and then rolled the wheels through it and then cut off the bottom of the wheel so that it looks like the bottom of the wheel is sunken into the dirt. But this was already glued on, so all of this stuff was done around these glued onto the base. But in the future, yeah, I'll definitely like roll the wheels through and then cut off the bottom or sand off the bottom of the wheel. The Chimera is untouched from last time, so if you think this Chimera looks neat or you want to see any of the weird baubles I added to it, yeah, check out my Chimera video. So Inquisitor Cotaez, this guy's interesting. Um, he is very clowned on in the community, it seems, because his new sculpt is not as liked as his old model. I think a lot of it is down to a skill issue. People don't like he has the stationary pose. I changed his pose. People don't like that the bird is about to fly into the window. Clip off the bird, change where he's going to fly, and he's going over the window now. It's not that hard. Now, obviously, I'm not the best miniature painter, not the best miniature customizer. I don't have green stuff. This is all just like super glue and baking soda to fill gaps and stuff. But I wanted to dress him down and give him a normal Cadian head. His head is kind of goofy. I like his head, but I wanted him to not look like such a named character. I want him to be an inquisitor who's coming in to clean up the riffraff, collect these units of the army. The idea I have for this army is that it's basically the Catachans being attacked in the jungle, or rather, sorry, the Catachans in the jungle find like a weapons factory or an armory that's Chaos Legion or Chaos Cultists. And so they call in the Kasrkin, then they send in the Cadians, then it gets too much, so Inquisitors come in and tech priests, and and then it's kind of it started as a Catachan army, and then evolved as the Catachans couldn't handle it, is my idea. This two-headed bird is really cool. I'm not used to painting birds or really anything alive. I'm used to painting robots, so a lot of this was a smack in the face in terms of figuring my stuff out. I like this is an extra bolt action guy, and so I just put him there, being like, "Oh man, it's a two-headed bird." Wow, Inquisitor Cotaez must be nearby. And I don't know if this is really Cotaez, if this is a younger Cotaez, or if this is a different Inquisitor that just plays by Cotaez's rules. But to me, it doesn't really matter too much. I do like the ability to paint an hourglass on there. That looks really cool. So when I contacted a resin printer guy in the city, he sold me 10 Catachan Jungle Troopers, which are actually a different sculpt than the Games Workshop ones. They're like completely new Catachan Jungle Troopers, which is very cool. Detailed, nice faces. They're not, that old style of Catachan Jungle Trooper that gets clowned on all the time. And I also got 20 Cadians from him, which I whittled down into 10 Cadians and a command squad. And I still have a poorly painted bolt action guy here too, though. But he does fit the aesthetic. Once I put a pack on him, he's in there with the Catachans. And there's one other one. Yeah, this guy was originally a bolt action guy, and then I broke his head off accidentally. It was a resin guy, and I couldn't find the head. So I just put a Warhammer head on him, but I like how he's like big head mode screaming. I think that's very funny. And I actually like the bigger head, smaller body proportions of old Hammer models or some of those old metal models. So I don't really mind that at all. And you'll see that in another guy that I kit last year. Still really proud of this, how this Catachan Commander came out. Looking really cool. Very, action movie, cool sword, cool bandana. I gave him this on the base. This was an extra piece that came with the resin Catachans that I bought. So I figured that was perfect for the commander. Then this would be the commander of just the general jungle troopers, not the command squad commander. And cool, cigar in his mouth and everything. Looking nice. It was quite a big difference to go from painting Gundams to painting all these little guys. But a lot of skills are very transferable. So if you haven't painted a lot of Gundams and you paint a lot of Warhammer, check out Gundam. But yeah, there is kind of a thing that I noticed of a lot of Warhammer painters either just like follow guides too much or don't look to alternative sources for advice other than just Warhammer stuff. So you find a lot of Warhammer painters or people who just want to get their stuff onto the table have a very lacking painting knowledge, or they're not really thirsty for new painting knowledge the way that I've seen some of the Gundam community is. Warhammer people kind of, if the painting skill doesn't have Warhammer applied to it, they don't really care. Whereas me, I could look anywhere how to paint grass, paint a gun, paint whatever. But, different strokes. Some people really only want stuff in the flavor of, what they like. So they just want to strictly watch Warhammer painting tutorials and not really diverge out of that. But it's really helpful. I mean, all my tanks, I'm not going to paint the way, Warhammer people paint tanks. And similarly, with the Cotaez, actually, going back to him for a second, I did do like the traditional box art highlighting on this guy of like whites on the edges and lighter blues, but I just don't like that style too much. For a bigger character like this, it works, so he stands out a little bit more. But I'm not doing that on each troop. Absolutely not. On the commander, like this guy, I put a few highlights here and there, and made sure the face was really nice. And otherwise, for me, a skin tone and a wash, a brown wash, is good enough for most faces on these guys. I'm not going to go and paint eyes for most. So here we got the good old Cadians. And these are all resin printed. None of these are Cadian Games Workshop Cadians. Although the ones with my battery mostly are, maybe with some different heads. But the batteries are mostly the ones that came with them. And you got your Voxcaster, you got your Flag Bearer. I like this guy here. So this is Cotaez, Inquisitor Cotaez's head here. And he has a power fist, and he has a bigger head than his body, and I think that looks really cool. This guy looks great. Mr. Hobby metallic red right there. And just stippled on, and then black washed, and details painted. And the face sculpt on Cotaez is really good. I don't really get what people's problem with Cotaez is so much, other than the head maybe not fitting with the body. But I kind of like that model. I think it's really nice. And I tried to get his eyes metallic purple, because Cadians do have purple eyes. So I'm not going to go in and paint every single Cadian's eyes purple, but for the commander, why not? I didn't do any airbrushing yet, other than the gloss top coat, before I did the detail painting on these guys. But I just whitewashed the plasma part, painted some white on the arms and the chest and the tip of the gun, and then a light blue over that. And then I'll go in and I'll actually airbrush a clear blue over everything to give it that nice glow. So that was just prepping for this metallic glow, but already, honestly, like without an airbrush, that looks really cool. I don't even know how much I would really need to airbrush if I just wanted to leave them like that. Like yeah, I could get more of a gradient, and I definitely will, but that's a pretty good first try at a plasma gun effect, yeah. From one specific angle, that looks really good. And just to color code, I gave like all my melt-a-gun guys a blue tip, and all my rocket launcher guys like light green rockets. I don't know, I was just trying to make it a bit easier on myself. And the idea that I have here is that these guys are kind of more in the beach or the wasteland area of the island. The Catachans are over in the forest, and the batteries and the Sentinel. And then over here we have the Kasrkin. And they're basically the elite Cadians. So we got this, cool sniper guy here. Looking really nice. I used Mr. Hobby UV red and green on the scopes for these guys, so hopefully they'll pop if I ever get a UV light or whatever. But I really feel that's more of a thing for Gundams. Really, it's just that those colors pop so well. It's not even that I care so much about the UV light, but like the fluorescent green and the fluorescent red and pink and stuff from Mr. Hobby are so strong. And since they're lacquers and not acrylic, they're basically like a material. You can basically just stipple on a glob of it with your brush, and it'll kind of retain that shape and be like a nice glob of color without having to go over with the second layer or worry about it not leveling correctly. Commander here. Commander looks kind of eerily similar to me. That's why I gave him this head. I thought it was funny. The top bun and everything. I like the purple chainsword. This guy's basically my self-insert here into the army. Just a little Kasrkin leader. I thought that was fun. Not much to show here. Got a melt-a-gun. I'm actually learning what all these weapons are now, so that's fun. All the Kasrkin, since this is a kill team, are all kind of different characters and how they work. You got your mine guy. Kind of like how this guy looks like he's like winding up to throw it like a shot put. This mine. It looks like he's going to like spin in a circle and then throw it at you. But yeah, and these guys are actually in the factory or the ruined, weapons base that all of the Chaos cultists are hanging out in. So the Kasrkin were sent in to really, do some damage. And that's, if I do end up doing a second army, it'll probably be like corn demons, so that I just have these normal guys against uh, you know evil demons, and I think that'll work instead of overcomplicating it. It just makes sense in my mind. Um, I was like, oh, I'm not really interested in Age of Sigmar. Nothing there is that cool. Like it's fantasy is cool. I like fantasy, but it's other than orcs, which I can get in 40K, there was nothing. And then I saw that there was cities of Sigmar, and it's just normal people in Sigmar with catapults and cannons and sword, and I'm like, oh no, because yeah, that kind of tickles my itch. I like just all these normal dudes that all have a little bit of character and all do their own thing, but nobody's some crazy mage or anything. I do have a slime marbow and a tech priest engines here that are coming in, that have been in the mail for a while. But the tech priest engines here is a little bit too fancy for my army style. So I think I will dress him down like I did with the Cotaez and give him a normal head and, kind of normal him up a bit. This is my Leman Russ commander here. He'll probably be the head of my army unless I choose to use like Cotaez or something else as my leader, one of the command squads. But I have not played a game of, of Warhammer yet, so I'll have to see how that goes and what I like using as my leader. Uh, but this is a fresh Red Makers 3D printed Leman Russ here. This is a little bit oversized. It's a bit of an oversized Leman Russ. I need to have the tracks on, but it's been sanded down. It's been washed, all of that. Weirdly, and I found that on some of the guns on the Cadians, 3D printing, you can see the polygons. You can see like the edges of the model, like it's like a PS1 or N64 game or something. But that, I'm thinking I'm gonna like texture over all this and like stipple texture over it all, make it look really rusty and gross. And I think that'll work. And this I can magnetize. I got the Vanquisher cannon here, but it also does have a normal resin battle cannon as well. I need to build a platform for the commander because he's too short in here since this is a little oversized. But the way the guy, said it, and I kind of think it's right, is no one's really going to complain if it's oversized. Which, yeah, it makes it easier to shoot, harder to get behind cover. So, yeah, I'm fine with that being my commander. And then he's like, I have two really rough other Leman Russes. Do you want these for $4 each? And I'm like, sure. Doesn't have sponsons. Who cares? I won't put sponsons on it. Can't open the hatch. That's fine. This is stationary. This is stationary. It's basically a paperweight. Nothing moves. It's a showpiece. Flat back. I'll add some parts. It's whatever. But this thing is heavy. This thing is like you could club someone with this. It's definitely a different resin than whatever that is. This is probably printed like solid through because it is crazy. It could definitely be used as a proper paperweight. Feels like it's made out of ceramic or something like that compared to a plastic tank. But yeah, this looks rough right now. But I cleaned up these sink marks here and like no, like kind of I guess injection or print marks. And once this is primed over, I think this will look pretty decent. And there's two of them, so I can just paint them both in a similar scheme. Have like two Leman Russ twins out on the battlefield, and not really think too much of it. I think if anybody looks at this, they're going to know this is a Leman Russ. I think this is more similar to the size of a Leman Russ than this one. So yeah, I think that's good for me. And eventually I'll get a Baneblade. Definitely a real one. I do want a real Baneblade. And that'll be my last 2,000 points, I believe, or the last of my 2,000 points. Obviously, I can always get a Rogaldorn and some more Leman Russ and another Scout Sentinel and whatever else I want, whatever else comes out for Imperial Guard. But so far, this is looking really, really awesome. Sorry for the abrupt end. My footage cut out at the end there, but if you made it this far, thanks for watching a half an hour of my show and tell. And yeah, I'll definitely figure out the lighting if I'm going to shoot this many models at once in the future. It's definitely no small undertaking compared to just shooting one thing. But yeah, take care, everyone.